Good evening. The time is now 19:04 and I'd like to start this meeting. I am Councillor Green and I will be the chair of this subcommittee for this meeting. I would like to introduce the members of the subcommittee along with me this evening. Councillor Tony Fish on my left and Councillor Sue Shinnock, who is a substitute for Councillor Lydiard on the right. Also in attendance are the licensing officers, Paul Adams, Elizabeth Cox and Brad Wheeler. Legal advisor Godwin Manguise and clerk Emma Trencher. I would like to remind everyone present that part of this meeting is being live streamed and recorded for publication on the Council's website. Item 5 on the agenda is an exempt item by the virtue of Part 1 of Schedule 12 of the Local Government Act 1972. I will advise when the recording will stop. Before we start, I would like to explain the process of the hearing. Firstly, the licensing officer will present their report. Following, the members and all relevant parties will have the opportunity to ask the questions. Then each party will be given the opportunity to give their case. This is also followed by questions from members of all parties. Once everyone has presented their case, all parties will have time to give a closing summary, with the licence holder having the final say. The subcommittee will then retire to consider its decision and will be accompanied by the clerk and legal advisor. We will then return with our decision. Does anyone have any questions? No. Thank you. Item 1 on the agenda, apologies. I have received apologies from Councillor Steve Lydiard and note that Councillor Sue Shinnock will be in attendance as his substitute. Item 2 on the agenda, urgent business. I have not been advised of any urgent business. Item 3 on the agenda, declaration of interest. Can I invite members of the subcommittee to declare any interest? No. Thank you. I will be moving the agenda back this evening and we'll be going straight to item 5 of the agenda. Item 5 is exempt. Therefore, if members wish to discuss and determine this item, we will need to go into an exempt session. So I will ask the clerk, can we please go into exempt session now? Thank you. We are now back out of executive session. We are now on item 4 of the agenda, determination of an application for a new premises licence. And before we start, I would like to explain the process of today's hearing. Firstly, the licensing officer will present their report. Following this, members and all relevant parties will have the opportunity to ask any questions. Then each party will be given the opportunity to give their case. This is also followed by questions from members and all parties. Once everyone has presented their case, all parties will have the time to give a closing summary, with the licence holder having the final say. The subcommittee will then retire to consider its decision and will be accompanied by the clerk and legal advisor. We will then return with our decision. Do any of the parties have any requests, in particular permission for another person to appear other than specified in their advance notice, for permission to cross-examine or any other requests? Any requests? Thank you. I would now like to ask the licensing officer to present the factual report.
Thank you, Chair. An application has been received for a new premises licence for 1 Commonwealth House, Montreal Road, Tilbury. A representation has been received from one local resident. The application was received for the premises licence on the 7th of June 2024 and it was submitted by Air Food and Wine Limited, who are situated at 3 Air Drive, South Ockenden. The application is to authorise the supply of alcohol for consumption off the premises, Monday to Sunday, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. A copy of the full application and associated documents is attached as Appendix 1, page 13, and a location map and photograph are attached as Appendix 2 at pages 33 to 35. During the consultation period, a representation was received from one local resident, which is attached at Appendix 3. To note from the representation, in itself, the number of premises in an area isn't a relevant factor under the licensing objectives as to how many shops are in the locality. Simon Barnes, on behalf of Essex Police and Thurrock Council's Trading Standards team, both proposed conditions to the applicant, which he has agreed. The police conditions and acceptance are attached as Appendix 4 and Trading Standards as Appendix 5. Should the application be granted today, the conditions that would be placed onto the licence are all listed at 2.5 of the report. I don't propose to read them all out, but they are there in front of you to read. No representations were received from any other persons or responsible authorities. Under the Licensing Act 2003, the licensing objectives are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. Any representation must relate to a particular premises and must be relevant to the promotion or one or more of the 4 licensing objectives. Following hearing all the evidence this evening, the options available are to grant the application as applied for, which would include the conditions that previously agreed, to grant the application subject to such conditions as are necessary and proportionate to promote the licensing objectives, or to refuse the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any member have any questions of the licensing officer? No. Councillor Shinnick.
Okay. The opening times is 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.
That's correct, yeah.
And in that time, will they be selling alcohol in them given time?
Yes, so the licence would only cover the sale of alcohol. They may have other opening hours for the shop where they wouldn't be able to sell alcohol, but that isn't something that would be governed by the licence. That would purely be the hours for sale of alcohol.
Any other questions? No. Thank you. Does the applicant have any questions for the licensing officers?
No, I don't have any question if they like to grant the license.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd now like to ask you, sir, could you present your case for the licence?
Sorry, pardon again?
Would you be able to present your case why we should grant your licence?
Yes, actually I have 18 years experience running other off license, which is 3 Air Drive, South Oakington, Air Food and Wine. We never missell to any underage. We always have a policy under 25 years, anyone look like under 25 years. We check their ID. And also we have, this is just only the off license. There's a convenience store, other food, milk, bread, everything there. So the off license is one section. Actually, no any kids going there. Any kids going there, tell them you can't go there. We have to move this side because we keep other chocolates, crisps, the kids' items, everything one other end sides. The same as we running the shop 3 Air Drive. And it's going to be CCTV camera inside, outside. So this is relevant to that. And then I agree with every all relevant needs to run the shop with the police and council and everything. So it's may possible we can run the shop without any issue with what relevant to the business and the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any member have any questions of the applicant? I would have one. Is it Mr. Javindra? Thank you. We have a a objection, and part of that objection, we've also had the police who have had extra restrictions onto your license, on your potential license, which you have accepted. Is that correct? If we were to grant this, if we added one more to have a camera put at on the front of the shop, facing the front of the shop, would you accept that, sir? Can you?
Okay, we always have that, same as we are running other shop, we're going to have the front as well, front of the shop, 2 cameras facing both sides and the front.
Or outside?
Outside, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
that. Does the licensing officer have any questions of the applicant?
No, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I would now like to ask the licensing officer to summarise their case.
Thank you. So you've heard the facts from the report, seen all the agreed conditions, and you've also heard from the applicant this evening. So it's now for the subcommittee to determine this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Javindra, I would now like to ask yourself to make a closing summary statement why we should grant your licence.
Yeah, as a business, a company, small company, we're starting to do going to next level to having another shop for that. So just helping for the small business people rather than helping the big companies. And also, we always take care of the local people. And then every local people, what they need to do, we can bring all needs inside as well, as we bring the small post office inside in 3-year drive. So local people having accessing the post office, same as that we can bring in as well. Therefore, I think it's not only for the business, it's for the whole community as well. So therefore, would you grant the license to us, and then we'll be happy with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Has everyone said all they wish to say? Thank you. The subcommittee will now retire to consider its decision and will be accompanied by the clerk and legal advisor to the subcommittee. Can I please ask now all licensing officers and the applicant to leave the chamber? Thank you. Thank you. Can I please ask the legal advisor to give the decision of this subcommittee?
Thank you, Chair. So the subcommittee haven't heard your submissions in relation to your application, and obviously haven't listened to the local residents' objection and haven't taken that into consideration. We're persuaded on the balance that your application should be granted, subject to the imposition of the condition highlighted in 2.5 of the report, as you did agree with the police and the trading standards. The extra condition will include you installing CCTV cameras outside and inside of the premises, as you rightly agreed to. The committee also will want to remind you that you have the right to appeal against this decision to the magistrate court within 21 days. So that is the decision of the committee. Your application is granted subject to those conditions that I read out.
Thank you. So I'd like to thank thank everyone for attending this evening. That concludes the business of the meeting, and I now declare the meeting closed at 19:42 p.m. Thank you.